Can you use Cartwheel for Previs? In this video, I'll walk you through how I made a little short in a day. The robot and animation were made in Cartwheel. I dropped it in Unreal, added a set up some shots, added a little acting and some effects. It's quick, it's cute, and it shows you how easy it is to prototype. The goal? Turn an idea into a cinematic pitch, fast. Generate characters and animation with Cartwheel, drop in and shoot the scene in Unreal, previs and prototype in a single afternoon. So the first thing we're going to do is generate a robot character. So I'm going to go to Character Creator. I've worked on a prompt. I actually used a GPT. I wrote, I want to create a friendly farming robot. It should have warm tones. And then it gave me this prompt. A compact, friendly farming robot with rounded edges. I'm going to see what this gives me. Generate. Look at that. Okay. I'm going to go with this one. Continue. Okay, my little robot is done. So I've done this a few times. I'm going to grab the one I did earlier. This is the one that I made before. I want to do a short, a clumsy robot. So I want to have a robot walking. It trips over something and almost loses its balance. Keeps walking, trips again, and this time when they trip, they fall, and their auto stabilization system just takes off and blasts them off really far away. So I'm going to start to build just a walk. There we go. I like this one. Cool. Now I want to have them lose their balance. I'm going to go into the motion library. I'm going to grab this one. All right, I'm going to add this motion. So now my little robot, he's got his walk, and then he almost loses his balance. I want to have him sort of do a little keep alive. Simple. I just wanted to stand in place for a second. Add that. Cool. So almost trips, and then they just stand for a second. I want to have another walk, fast, purposeful walk. Add that. Okay, so now we have our character. Whoa, almost lose their balance. Keep walking again. I want to have a really funny, like, whoa, 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 and then fall. There we go. Yep, perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. Boosh. And then what I don't want is at the end of this, there's a little bit of a get back up. I just want him to stay there. Boom. I'm going to put like a flailing animation on him after this. Add this motion. So now we've got character walks. They almost trip. Stand for a second. Keep walking. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Boosh. Now I want to add a flail. There we go. Boom. It's got like a twist on it. Okay, so now our character is going to do this. Oh, they trip, they fall, and then they fly. During the flail, I'm going to have them like flying through the air. Cool. Okay, so we're happy with this motion. I'm going to download this and bring it into Unreal. FBX to Unreal, 60 FPS, download. So now we have a character and we've generated some animation for it. I want to put it somewhere. So I found this cool little bundle pack. I'll put a link for this in the description. I found this Stylized country set. I think this will work well for our robot character. All right, so I downloaded that set and I'm going to open it up on Unreal Engine 5.6. All right, so it's open, levels, showcase. This is the level that we are looking for. All right, so we've got a very simple environment here. This is neat. It's got this cool like wall that goes up into infinity there. A couple of little sheep. This is nice. I think this is going to work great. All right, let's import our character. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to import my character. I'm going to use pipeline defaults for import settings with one exception. Generated characters in Cartwheel right now, they generate really, really tiny, super tiny, like about 1 millimeter tall. And we want them to be like the standard 1 meter tall. So what I do is I set the uniform offset scale at 100. That makes the character normal size. Cool. So here it is. Here's our little character. It's opened up. Looking good. Looks nice. One thing, I'm going to save all. One thing I've noticed, the colors on characters when you import them, they're just a little bit muted. So what I do is I add a multiply node, add this, and I change this to like 3. A multiply node is just hold M, left click to bring a multiply node up. That like multiplies the base color just a little bit more vibrant. Great. All right, I'm going to drop my character into my scene. He just feels a little bit small still, a little bit bigger. Yeah, that feels about right. So there's our character. They're in the scene. By the way, the animation asset is right here. They do their walk. Whoa, they almost fall. They stop, look around, starts walking, trips and falls, and then they flail. Okay, cool. That's our animation. We are going to put that on this character now in the set. So we need to create a level sequence. I'm going to make another folder in my content browser. I like to do this called sequence where I put all of my sequences. I'm going to call it shot 1. This is a level sequence inside the level, and now you have to add things to your level sequence. So I want to add this character. I selected add actor to track. Boom. Now my actor's here on the track. They don't have any animation yet though, so I need to add, right where it says animation, click on this little plus to add your animation. And now there's our character. And they're walking, they're doing their thing. Currently our sequence goes to frame 150, which is not the whole length of the shot. So we need to open this up to the full length of the shot, which is about like that. Okay, so here's our character. They are walking in here. Right off the bat, I'm noticing that there's a little bit of a slant in this world. It's a little bit lower here than it is over there. And as our character is walking along, it looks like by the time they get to this end, they're kind of up, they're floating pretty high off the ground. I want to add a key at the beginning of the shot. This is the position I want them to be relative to the ground there, and at the end of the shot on the ground. Another key. So now what's happening is the character is slowly moving down throughout the shot. If you select keys and you hit 4, it makes the keys just a linear transition, which is better. That's kind of what we want. We don't want that ease in and ease out. We also don't want, when it gets to like this point here, we probably want it to stop syncing. I'm gonna add another key about here. Like down, it's good. And then I don't want them to continue to sync until about here. Copy that key here, paste it there. So now like, okay, character is slowly walking down. Oh, when they stop here, it's good. Okay. And then they start walking again and it works. Okay, cool. So that's that. Next thing I want to do, I want to add a couple of rocks that I want them to trip over. So let's see, I think there might be some kind of rocks. Materials, meshes. Yeah, okay. Rock, boulder. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's see if this works. Nice. That's exactly what I want. Okay, so I want to have the character like, whoa, they almost trip over that rock. Whoa. And then I'm gonna leave that there. Later, when they trip, I want to have another rock. So a neat trick in Unreal, if you click on an object and you hold Alt and just drag, it duplicates the object. I'm gonna drag it over here. This is where he's gonna be tripping, about like that. Whoa, whoa. Oh, yeah, cool. All right. Whoa, almost trips there. Keeps walking, and then that's where the fall happens. Okay. Sweet. All right, so we've got that. Now I'm going to set up a couple of cameras. I'm going to add to the scene cinematic actor right there. And then I'm going to add this actor to the sequencer so I can animate it. If you click on this little look through viewport button, now you're actually looking through the camera that you just created. I want this establishing shot to be sort of a high camera following the character through the world a little bit. For the camera, at the beginning of the shot, I'm going to set a key for the location. And as we get to sort of this part, I'm going to move the camera a little bit as if it's kind of following. And so these keys I just authored here in the camera. Let's see if we can see them all. Stacked view mode. There. Now you can see the 2 keys. And I'm going to hit 4 to make them linear because I want this camera to just move with the character. I want it to more or less stay centered in the frame. Yeah, all right, that feels good for an establishing shot. Rename this camera 1. Okay, I'm gonna add my next shot. Add another camera. I'm gonna add this one to the sequencer as well. I'm gonna call this one camera 2. And now for this camera, so I'm looking through the camera with that button. This is gonna be more like a straight on shot, something like that. This camera cuts track is really powerful. So what you can do is you can bind cameras to the camera cuts track. So if I bind camera 1 and camera 2, now I have a little cut here. Now you can watch your cut take place from here, and then I cut to this shot. So I'm gonna make this shot a little bit shorter. Establishing shot, this doesn't be very long. Then we're gonna cut to this shot and we're gonna see, whoa, he almost tripped. Okay, so this camera, I want to be kind of moving with the robot as he's walking. I set a key here, and then here you can kind of just move back by piloting the camera. That works. There we go. Those are my keys. I'm going to hit 4 so that they're nice linear. I just want to like move backwards in space as if I'm just coming along with the character. Looks like I'm going a little bit faster than him. I'm going to back off just a tiny bit. Okay, now I'm going to center and frame. Cool, so now if we look at our main camera cuts track, look through here. First shot, second shot. Oh, here's what I want to do. I want it to like slowly stop when he loses his balance like that. Let's add another couple keys. The camera just stops with the character a little bit. Yeah, cool. All right, watching camera. Cool, now we've got that. Walking. Whoa. Okay, now when he gets to this spot, I want to have him like turn and like look at the rock. Like, what was that? I almost tripped on that thing. I'm going to add another camera. Next camera. This is camera 2. We're going to now add this one. I'm going to rename this camera 3. And for this camera, I'm looking through it. I want to see the reaction as he like turns to look at that rock. While he's just standing there, I'm going to add some like simple acting on his head. Like, huh? What was that? Huh. Okay, so this is going to be more or less a static camera. It's not going to be animated. Bind camera 3. We're walking along. Whoa, we almost tripped. And we just have a moment to sort of look at that rock and say, what the heck was that? Whoa. Okay. So now the fun part is to add some head acting. And what I'm going to do is add our control rig. So this is the modular control rig that we've set up. It's on our website. I'll put a link in the description of this video to show you where to download that to get access to that. But here's our control rig. Unreal is like super powerful. I think since 5.5 or 5.4, you can now add a layered control rig on top of your animation. So you have existing skeleton with existing animation, but you can put this extra control rig on top of it, sort of animate in a layered way. There it is. Cool. So now our character has this control rig on it. At this moment, when he turns and looks at that rock, I just want to add a little bit of head acting. So I'm going to select the head control. I want to turn on this enable arc ball rotation. Okay, so now I've got his head, like he's going to turn, like, huh? And he's a robot, so he can just turn his head really fast. And I'm going to add a little bit of an ease into that. Okay, I'm gonna have him do like a little, like investigate it from like a slightly different angle. Okay, sharpen up that. Yeah, there we go. He's walking. Next thing I want to do is while he's walking, I want to have him like looking off in the distance or something. So during this moment here, I'm gonna have him taking in the sights. I'm gonna copy that. Okay, so now he's walking, looking at the sights, and then whoa, he almost loses his balance. He has to turn and look at, whoa, almost lost my balance. Looks at the rock, starts walking. We can cut out some of that. It's a little bit long. Maybe just split section. And now start walking again. Cool. So now we don't need this to be quite this long. And then that's where the fall happens. Okay, so now we're walking. Whoa, we almost tripped. Look at the rock. Huh? I don't know. Okay, let's keep walking and fall again. Okay, so now for this next part, after he starts walking again, we're gonna add another camera. This is gonna be like a side tracking camera. I don't want to give away that we're about to see that rock. So from here, I want to have this camera following along with our character. As they walk, I want to go with them. Looks like there already is a big rock here. Select the rock. Don't need that. There we go. Okay, so we got the fall. So the rock's there. Don't want to see it in this shot, so I'm going to do something kind of goofy. A little camera trickery. And then he trips on it. All right, so we've got character walking. Whoa, they almost trip on that one. Huh, take a look. That's weird. I don't know what that was. Let's keep walking. Whoa, there's another one. And then we fall. We need to add one last camera to kind of give this a little bit more impact. I'm going to add one last camera. Add track. This is going to be like a close-up of the foot as the character trips. About like that. Whoa. Something like that. Walking. Almost trip. Take a look at the rock. It's cute. Keep walking. All right, so, okay, we're starting to come together. You're starting to see how we're putting this scene together. There's a lot of nuance to kind of work on. Tweak the cameras. Obviously, he's kind of floating on the ground there. That's an easy fix. We can just move him down a little bit more. All stuff that's easy to do. The last thing I'm going to do is just show you how to do some of those like jet blast effects that kind of really help sell this sets up, oh, he's got some sort of auto stabilization system. What happens is that when he actually falls, that system goes haywire and just goes nuts, and then he just rockets off into nowhere. So let's just add that last little bit of animation. I'm going to use the global control so that right when they hit the ground, he is just going to shoot off into space. I'm going to give it a little bit of an ease in, like the rocket is just taking him off into orbit. So now when he falls, then we'll add the rocket blast to have him do that. Okay, so that's what we'll do next. So first thing I'm going to do is go into his skeleton, this character's skeleton, and we're going to add some sockets on the skeleton where we want to attach these thrusters. I'm going to turn on the bones so you can see where the bones are. This might be a little scary, but I promise you it's not going to be that complicated. Basically, you can attach something to a bone with a socket, and the bones just move with the animation, but you can pin something there so that it follows that bone in space. And that's what I want to do with those thrusters. I think I want it to be attached to the upper arm, this bone, the upper arm bone. Let's try upper arm. I'm going to add socket. And this socket I'm going to rename right thruster. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other arm. Right click, add socket. F2 to rename left thruster. Also, we're going to put one, like a really big, super powerful one that's on his chest. And that is the one that really goes off when he falls over. So on spine 3, I'm going to do a third socket, and I'm going to call this one chest thruster. That's all we need to do. Save your skeleton, close that, and now we're going to start to create this thruster system. So I made a folder called FX folder. I'm going to right click new Niagara system, and what we're going to use for this is just a fountain. Create that. I'm going to call this Niagara system thruster. I'm going to drag this to the scene so you can see it. I'm going to make 2 of them, so I'm going to Alt click to drag. So now I have 2 thrusters. What you do is, so here's your robot, this thing right here, and I can take this thruster, click, left click, just drag it over the top of your robot skeletal mesh. Now you can select which of these sockets that you're going to select. So, okay, that's my left thruster. I want to add it here, and then the right thruster, I'm going to add it to the right thruster. You see how the thrusters they're not moving around in this scene. They're actually constrained to those bones. So what we want to do is actually put them in the spot where you want it to be. We can refine this a little bit more later. I want to make it look like it's kind of coming out from underneath that shoulder pad. Yep, it's kind of in the right spot. So the thrusters are on continuously, which we're going to fix that. We're going to make it so that they turn on right when we want them to. We can set that up. But right now they're just on continuously, and that's okay because we're just getting it set up. So, okay, this one, I'm going to get it in the right spot. Yeah, okay. So we're going to have them turn on right there and then turn back off again. Okay, so let's refine how they look. The first thing we're going to do is change the scale of the particles, make them a little bit bigger. And then we're going to change the spawn rate. Yeah, we're going to change this to like 1500. We're going to disable gravity, disable drag, add some velocity. I'm going to make this more like 1000. 1500. We're going to change the cone angle to like 2. We're going to change the lifetime. And we can kind of come back here and see. Yeah, that's not quite what we're looking for yet. Lifetime. Yeah, we want this to be really short, like 0.1 or even 0.05. This will be 0.2. Yeah. Okay, now it's starting to look like a thruster. Cool. All right, now let's change the color, like a blue or something like that. This is sort of the brightness. I'm going to make this 10 to make it really a bright thruster. Now we're going to make it so that they fade off a little bit more. As it gets farther away, like the visibility or the alpha gets a little bit less. Scale color right here. On this spline here, I'm going to make a new key. What we're trying to create is this effect that it's losing visibility as it's getting farther away from the arms. I think that's about what we need. In order to animate the on-off state of these thrusters, we add them both to our sequencer. So now they're there here, and now what we want to do to turn them on and off is you hit this plus button, add Niagara component. We added our Niagara component to each thruster, and I want to add a FX system toggle track. And now we have an activate, deactivate checkbox. it's going to be off. We're just going to leave it off. And then right there, we're going to have it turn on. Boom. Key it on. Before this, we're going to key it off. Boom. Turns on. And then right at there, we want it to turn back off again. Cool. So now it made it activate, deactivate, trigger, on, off. Same thing for the other one. Add system toggle track, deactivated, set a key right there. We want it to turn on, off, right there. We want it to turn off. Jet blast turned on. Huh? What was that? I don't know. Keeps walking, and then right when we lose our balance, activate. Thrusters are on. Cool. This is starting to make sense, but we want to have that extra one, that really big one that just launches him into space. So let's duplicate our thruster. This one we're going to call Big Thruster. Cool. We're going to add this to the scene. And this one we are going to modify to make it really big. Let's play with the cone angle. Let's do like 90 degrees. Let's change the size of the particles. 50 and 70. Let's change the velocity 2,000, 3,000. Let's make this one really bright in color. Instead of 6, I'm going to do 15. Yeah. Let's make the particles even bigger. 100, 150. That looks like a powerful thruster now. Okay, save that. Put this on our character right there, right at the fall moment. Face it down. It's going to be sort of like attached to his chest. And then we're going to add this to the chest socket. Yeah, so now if we don't want it on the whole time, we want to do the same thing. We want it to activate right there. So let's add this new big thruster to our sequencer. Add a Niagara component to it. Add a system toggle track to that. Let's have it deactivated by default. And then right now it turns on. So, okay, let's watch this. Character's walking. I don't know. Keep walking. They trip. They fall. You know what? Let's just do this. Let's just keep going with this. This is fun. Let's add one more camera. Cinecam actor. Yep, this new camera. We're going to call it distant camera. We're going to add the distant camera to the track, and we're going to bind it to our main sequence. And now distant camera, the idea is you're going to cut out from this moment, and then it cuts to this, and now you'll get to see him like flying around, and we've got this character like taking off. This is the vertical, they're lifting off. So let's have them go like really high. That's pretty high, way up there, and then they're gonna come back down, and we're gonna have them travel from here that way, like way over there. And we want the Z to be. Okay, so I'm gonna move our camera. I can keep them in frame. I'm gonna have them go even farther away, way over here. All right, we're getting somewhere. Let's add like a rotation to him. You know, like maybe he's like going in circles. So, well, that's a little fast. That's cool. It's funny. Maybe not quite that fast. Okay. If the Niagara effect starts playing in the wrong time, you just have to reset the timeline, go back to 0, and that usually fixes it. And whoa. All right, there you go. Again, a little bit more refinement needed to really make it shine, but this is fun. Thank you so much for going through this tutorial. I hope it was helpful for you. We're going to be releasing more tutorials like this. This is just to show you how easy it is to put together a rough sequence in a couple of hours with Cartwheel and with Unreal together. It's just a very powerful combination. We can't wait to see what you make with it. So have fun and happy animating.